Let's start our journey at the turn of the 19th century. The advent of elevators, electricity, and steel beams had made it possible to construct buildings with multiple stories. The building popularly credited as the first skyscraper in the modern sense of the word was the Home Insurance Building, built in 1885 in Chicago, and eighth on the current list. In the early days of skyscraper building, there was a strong rivalry between New York City, represented by a blue bar, and Chicago, purple bar, in this graph. Many of the tall buildings of the day were being built in what came to be known as the Newspaper Row in downtown Manhattan. Almost every daily newspaper had a presence here. The need to be in the center of action, around the city hall and the police station, made this a prime space. Many of the buildings that still stand from that era were designated National Historic Landmarks and can no longer be modified or demolished. Park Row was another building built in the aforementioned Newspaper Row. Allied Chemical is what is now commonly known as 1 Times Square. I'm pretty sure you have seen this building, at least in pictures, as this is the same building where you see the ball drop on every New Year's Eve in New York City. Full of billboards, it is hardly recognizable today. Singer Building was constructed for the Singer Sewing Company. Metropolitan Life Tower was constructed for another well-known company, MetLife, and unlike Singer Building, still stands today. Woolworth Building was owned by the Woolworth brothers, owners of the nickel and dime stores. These stores were the precursor to the modern dollar store and brought in a lot of money for the Woolworth Corporation. Woolworth Building was the first building to stay as the tallest building for more than a decade. Late 20s saw what was dubbed the race into the sky. Designs were kept secret as several buildings competed to become the tallest in the world. 40 Wall Street only briefly held that crown, as it was soon surpassed by the Chrysler Building. For the first time in history, a building was both the tallest skyscraper as well as the tallest man-made structure, surpassing Eiffel Tower in France. However, only in a year's time, Empire State Building took that crown from Chrysler. The completion of Empire State Building saw the end of an era, as the American economy went into recession, and then in the 40s, World War II broke out. For decades, Empire State stood unchallenged as the tallest skyscraper in the world. Europe never entered the skyscraper race. Most of the cities in Europe were already well established, with many prime spaces already occupied by historic buildings, nor did it see the demand as in the US. Interestingly, as we go down the years, you will notice that not a single building from the continents of Africa, South America, and Australia has ever been in the list of top 20 buildings in the world. Second part of the 20th century saw the construction boom return. Some buildings in the Soviet bloc were commissioned by Stalin himself. One such building in this list is the Moscow State University, which is still the tallest university building in the world. World Trade Center towers, popularly known as Twin Towers, finally eclipsed the Empire State Building in height. They in turn were soon overtaken by Willis Tower. This ended an era for New York City, as this was the first time since the early days of skyscraper building any other city could lay the claim to have the tallest building in the world, and it will also be the last time New York City held that title. Willis Tower were known as Sears Tower in the past. They were constructed for the Sears Corporation. Sears at that time was the largest retailer in the world and wanted to consolidate all of its offices into one building. Their optimistic growth targets were never realized. In fact, Sears' fortunes soon dwindled as a retailer, forcing them to sell the tower and later its naming rights. 90s saw the shift of super tall skyscraper building towards Asia, especially with the construction of many tall buildings in Hong Kong, represented by Aqua and China in red in this graph. Hong Kong in fact grew to have more skyscrapers than any other city in the world. Being a bustling small city-state, there were not many options but to build up. With the completion of Petronas Towers in Malaysia, the crown for the tallest building in the world went to Asia, unlikely to go to any other continent in the foreseeable future. Taipei 101 in Taiwan was the first building to cross the half-kilometer mark. The construction of Burj Khalifa in Dubai was a pinnacle of skyscraper engineering. Not only was it the tallest skyscraper by far, it had for the first time since the Empire State Building consolidated a lot of other titles, including the tallest freestanding structure, beating Sears Tower in Canada by more than 200 meters, as well as the highest structure ever built by man, surpassing various super tall radio antennas. This brings us to the end of this video. I hope you found it interesting as well as informative. Thank you for watching.